The one mistake you're making that's holding your wrestling progress back is your perspective on the sport and your growth. Now, I kind of break these down into two perspectives. One perspective is I'm very, very good, and your perspective is very, very small, and so you think you're better than you are. And the other perspective is you think you're terrible at wrestling because you're way too zoomed out. And you look at these guys who are winning world championships, NCAA titles, and you compare yourselves to them, and you think you're really, really bad at wrestling. Both of these have negative effects and somewhat positive effects in moderation. So you should be somewhere, kind of using both these sometimes, but you shouldn't be overindulged in one or the other. We're going to start with kind of the big fish in a small pond one first. You think you're really, really good. You see this a lot in high school. You also see this in youth, but I think youth don't really have the mental capacity yet to kind of think about this a whole ton. But you see this a lot in high school. The best guy in the high school team, he is, maybe not that good, but he's the best one in his team, so all his teammates look up to him, which is a good thing, right? There should be leaders in the room. That's how you get a good room. You got to look up to someone, and if that's the guy, right? But if that kid wants to be good and he has goals, big goals, he should be able to look at himself and be like, while I'm the best in this room, there's other people out there that are beating me. And this goes at every single level. Say that kid is good enough to win a state title. Okay, he won a state title. Go to Fargo. There's probably guys out at Fargo that are beating you. There are plenty of state champions that lose at Fargo. Okay? He wins a Fargo title, right? Go try out for the world team at your age group. Are you on the world team yet? Right? If not, there's guys better than you. Say you're the number one ranked kid in the country in high school. There's college guys out there that'll beat you. Right? Now you get to college. You get in your room, you're not even the starter. Now you get to be a starter, right? Okay, there's guys that are starting on other teams that can beat you. Now you're an NCAA champ. Okay, there's guys in the world that can beat you, right? And it just keeps going and going and going and going. And so you never want to have this mind frame of I'm the best at this. And now that sometimes makes kids content, right? They're the best in their room or the best in their state, and they're content, and they start, maybe not working as hard in practice, maybe not pushing as hard, maybe not, trying to learn as much. And I'm not saying this is always happening, right? But I'm just saying, if you feel like your wrestling has gotten stagnant, this could be a possibility. Now, the other side of this is the opposite of that. Even if you could be a good wrestler or a bad wrestler and have this, and you looking up to these guys and you're like, man, I'm never ever going to get there. And it's like, okay, one, let's keep it in perspective. How long have we been doing the sport? How long have we been doing the sport seriously? How many years have we been trying to improve? Now, how many years is this guy where he's at been trying to improve? A lot of those guys have dedicated a long time of their life to get to where they're at. And then there's guys under them who have dedicated, similar, if not the same time of their life, and they're still not as good as them. So it's like, let's keep that in perspective. Let's keep that time frame and that work output in perspective. How much time have we dedicated versus them? If we just keep putting in time, we'll get there. But if you just constantly are negative towards yourself and be like, oh man, I suck. Here's this guy's doing this. I'm never going to be able to beat him. Well, hey, given time, you might be able to beat him at some point. And just being able to keep that in perspective of hey, if I just keep working hard, keep doing the right things, keep pushing myself in practice, keep a beginner's mindset, right? And stay positive. Because a lot of times we get into this negative downward spiral of where we're comparing ourselves to others. And that saying that comparison is the thief of joy, it really is. And then it's hard to enjoy the sport. And if you don't enjoy the sport, it's really, really hard to get better. So keeping everything in perspective is a super, super important mental piece of your wrestling. And I think you have to kind of be on both sides of the spectrum. Sometimes we need to, if we're on the one side where we think we suck at wrestling because we look at these other guys, we need to maybe, zoom our perspective in and be like, you know what, I'm the best in my room right now, and build some confidence off of that. If we think we're the best in the world just because we're the best in our high school room or the best in our college room, right? Maybe we need to zoom out a little bit and look at some of these guys, winning NCAA titles, winning world championships and stuff like that, and be like, yeah, I'm pretty good, but I ain't these guys yet. And so I don't think it's you want to be right in the middle of either one of them. I think, throughout your wrestling, you probably go up and down on this spectrum. Or even if it's like, there's two spectrums, this is this is the one zooming out, this is zooming in, right? We need to, sometimes go up and down with each one and use both of these perspectives at the same time, which sounds like you can't, but you can. You can look at the whole entire world and be like, okay, I'm not that good, but then you can also look at your room and be like, but I'm pretty good and I'm moving in the right direction. Now, how are some ways that we can combat, each of these, right? So the confidence one, if we're way too confident in our abilities, is really, really easy. Go find really, really tough competition and challenge yourselves and compete, right? Go to a really, really hard tournament and see if you win it. If you don't, boom, you got humbled really quick. If you do, go find a tougher tournament and go wrestle in that. There's also, you can bring guys into practice, okay? You can go to other people's practices. If you're a high schooler and you're like, man, I'm the best in my high school room, I can't find anyone to come in to beat me in practice, just go to a college room. Go find a club coach that, is pretty good, and he'll smash you, right? So it's like, that one's pretty easy to get humbled. You just have to, you have to want it enough, right? You have to want to go get better, and if you do, you're going to realize that failure is part of that process, and you're going to go fail, and then you're going to get better from it. The other one is a little bit tougher because I feel like you can really get yourself stuck in a rut when you think you suck at wrestling, and you keep comparing yourselves to others. That one is honestly, sometimes it's like, this may sound really mean, but you just grab a crappy guy in your room and you beat the crap out of him, right? You just beat him up. And then you just start working up from the crappy guy in your room to maybe a decent kid in your room that you can beat up. You just spend a little time having fun beating up those guys, right? Taking them down, letting them up, stuff like that. And then, so that's one way to do it, right? But sometimes that gives us like a false sense of feeling. And if we're honest with ourselves, we're like, we just keep talking to ourselves of like, hey, yeah, I can beat this kid up. I already knew that, but these guys are still out there type stuff. So honestly, that one is more of, we need to realize for ourselves that this sport takes time and a lot of hard work. And we need to realize that, hey, we're doing the right things. We just need to keep pushing. Or maybe we're not doing the right things, and that's why we have these feelings. And so it's like, where can we improve our lifestyle so we have a little bit more confidence in what we're doing and the process that we're on right now. So maybe it's not even, maybe it's you're causing those problems for yourselves by making the wrong decisions. And it's like, okay, how can I change these decisions to the right ones? So now I can feel better about myself and I can just believe in the process and continue working and getting better. I don't have to feel so crappy about myself. And then the other way of doing that too is like, take a little time off of like watching all that stuff. Stop looking at the rankings, stop watching college wrestling and stuff like that. Even though it's a really, really good way to get better, if it's negatively affecting us, why are we doing it? So also just, talk to your friends and family and your coaches about it and stuff like that. Reach out about these mental issues, that you're having, maybe competition anxiety and stuff like that. Talk to your coaches about this stuff. More than likely they were in this spot at one point, and they can help guide you in different ways, or give you a book to read, or give you a person to talk to or something like that, because more than likely they know, or they were in your shoes at one point. They went through the same journey you're going through, and a lot of us had times where we sucked or we were really, really good and maybe we got humbled. So just something to think on, guys. I appreciate you watching the video. We'll see you next time.